You think you know the story of Jack and the Beanstalk. A simple boy, a handful of magic beans, a towering plant, and a dim-witted giant. It's a nursery rhyme, a pantomime, a harmless fantasy. But what if I told you that you don't know the story at all? What if the version you know is a deliberate lie? A sanitized fable designed to hide a much older, much more disturbing truth. Buried beneath this children's tale is a fossilized memory, a chillingly practical guide to survival, shamanism, and cosmic theft that is thousands of years older than writing itself. Welcome back, Darklings. Tonight, we unearth the real story of Jack, a tale not of whimsy, but of ritual, conquest, and a forbidden climb into a realm from which no one was meant to return. To understand the profound, haunting truth of this ancient story, we must first examine the comfortable lie we've all been told, or so the story goes. We begin in squalor, with a boy named Jack and his widowed mother. Their world shrunk to the size of a single, gaunt cow, milky white. Their last asset, their last hope. Jack, sent to market, is the quintessential fool, trading this final piece of his world for a handful of seemingly worthless beans from a mysterious old man. His mother's rage is the desperate fury of the truly destitute. The beans are thrown out, a symbol of squandered hope. But overnight, a miracle. Or is it an intrusion? A colossal beanstalk, an impossible green ladder, erupts from the soil, piercing the clouds and violating the known boundary between earth and sky. Driven by curiosity, or perhaps a reckless ambition born from having nothing left to lose, Jack begins to climb. He ascends into an alien landscape, a kingdom in the clouds ruled by a monstrous giant. Here, the story shifts from poverty to peril. With the help of the giant's strangely sympathetic wife, Jack hides, overhearing the famous chilling refrain, "Fee, fee, fo, fum, I smell the blood of an Englishman." The giant is a creature of immense power and appetite, but he also possesses immense wealth. On his first trip, Jack steals a bag of gold. On his second, a hen that lays golden eggs. On his third, a magical self-playing harp. But this final theft rouses the giant. The harp cries out, and a chase begins. Jack scrambles down the stalk, the giant's thunderous pursuit shaking the very roots of the world. Reaching the bottom, Jack screams for an axe, and with frantic, desperate swings, he severs the beanstalk. The giant, the bridge between worlds, and the source of his newfound fortune, all come crashing down. Jack and his mother, their poverty solved by theft and murder, live happily ever after. Or so the sanitized story goes. But that story is a recent invention. A Victorian moral gloss painted over a far more ancient and immoral canvas. To find the story's sinister heart, we have to dig, tracing its literary history backwards in time. The version most of us recognize, the one with a degree of moral justification, was published by Benjamin Tabat in 1807. It was Tabat who first introduced a crucial detail. The giant had murdered Jack's father and stolen his riches. This single edition retroactively transforms Jack's home invasion and theft into an act of righteous vengeance. It makes him a hero, not a predator. It's a comfortable edit, a piece of moralizing propaganda designed to make the story palatable for the nursery. But it's a lie. Before Tabat's edit, the story was much darker. Go back further to 1734, to a satirical collection called Round About Our Coal Fire. Here we find a bizarre, chaotic tale titled The Story of Jack Spriggins and the Enchanted Bean. In this version, Jack's own grandmother is a witch who gives him the bean, the giant is named Gogmagog, and the narrative is a messy, violent, and gleefully immoral romp. Jack is not a victim reclaiming his birthright. He is an opportunist, a trickster who sees a path to power and takes it without a shred of remorse. There is no weeping widow, no moral hand-wringing. There is only raw, untamed folklore. This is the version that was effectively banned, not by a government decree, but by the cultural sanitization of the 19th century. The folklorists of the era, including the Brothers Grimm who collected similar tales, were often cleaning up the stories they found, stripping away the violence, the sexual undertones, and the moral ambiguity to fit the rigid Christian moral codes of their time. They were curators, but they were also censors. The raw, bloody heart of the tale was deemed unfit for children and polite society, so it was buried. Folklorists today, using the Arnold Thompson-Euther classification system, categorize this story as Tale Type 328, The Boy Steals the Ogre's Treasure. This motif isn't unique to England. It's a pattern that appears in cultures all over the world, a narrative fossil that suggests we aren't looking at a simple English fairy tale at all. We are looking at the local branch of a vast, sprawling family tree of stories, a family whose roots stretch back into the undocumented darkness of prehistory. The story wasn't written, it was inherited, and what it truly remembers has nothing to do with a boy named Jack, and everything to do with a vanished world of brutal survival. This is where we begin our first great reinterpretation. Let's look at this tale not as fantasy, but through the cold, hard lens of history and sociology. What if Jack isn't a plucky hero? What if he's a colonizer, a raider? What if the story is a folk memory, a justification for conquest? Look at the elements. A young, ambitious man from a resource-poor land, Jack and his mother's barren garden, ascends to a new, wealthier territory, the Giant's Kingdom. The inhabitant of this land is depicted as monstrous, subhuman, and dangerous. A classic tactic used to dehumanize an enemy and justify invading their home. The giant is othered. He is big, loud, and cannibalistic. His famous line, "Fee fee fo fum, I smell the blood of an Englishman," is often read as a simple threat. But flip the perspective. It's the cry of a native sensing an intruder, a foreigner in his own domain. Some scholars have even linked this refrain to Shakespeare's King Lear, where the character Edgar, feigning madness, says a similar line, hinting at a deep, ancient cultural resonance of smelling an outsider. The story then becomes a brutal blueprint for colonial exploitation. First, you take the portable wealth, the currency, the bag of gold. Then, you take the means of production, the source of sustainable wealth, the hen that lays golden eggs. Finally, you take the culture, the soul of the land, the magical, singing harp. After stripping the new world of its resources and its spirit, you destroy the connection, severing the beanstalk, ensuring the native cannot follow, cannot retaliate. The death of the giant isn't a moment of triumph, it's the final act of ethnic cleansing. In this reading, the story is a chilling piece of propaganda, a tale told by the victors. It's the story of the Vikings, who left their sparse lands to raid the wealthy shores of Britain. It's the story of European colonists subjugating new worlds. It's a timeless allegory for any society that justifies its own upward mobility through the violent dispossession of another. Jack's happily ever after is built on the ruins of the giant's civilization. He is not a fairy tale hero. He is a historical predator. And the story is a haunting justification for his crimes, whispered for centuries until we forgot its bloody meaning. This interpretation is compelling, but it feels like it's still anchored in recent history. Raiders, colonizers. But what if the story is immeasurably older? This is where our investigation pivots from literary analysis to the chilling hard data of science. For a long time, the age of fairy tales was pure speculation. But in 2016, a groundbreaking study led by folklorist Sara Graça da Silva and anthropologist Jamshid Tehrani changed everything. They employed a method called phylogenetic analysis, a statistical technique borrowed from evolutionary biology that's normally used to build family trees of species. Instead of genes, they tracked narrative elements, the motifs and plot points of fairy tales, across different Indo-European languages. They wanted to see if these stories evolved like a biological organism, branching and changing as human populations migrated and languages diverged. They fed the data for tale type 328, The Boy Steals the Ogre's Treasure, into their models. The results were staggering. Their analysis concluded, with a high degree of statistical probability, that a recognizable ancestor of Jack and the Beanstalk was being told over 5,000 years ago. Let that sink in. This story is older than the Roman Empire. It's older than the philosophy of ancient Greece. It was being told before the Old Testament was written down, before the construction of Stonehenge was completed. It likely dates back to the very split between Western and Eastern Indo-European languages, a time when Proto-Germanic, Proto-Celtic, and Proto-Italic were all just dialects of the same mother tongue. This isn't a medieval fable or a Victorian fantasy. It is a genuine artifact from the Bronze Age, a whisper from a vanished world. This scientific grounding gives us a terrifying new context. The giant stops being a caricature and becomes something much more primal. In ancient mythologies, giants, or Jotnar, or titans, often represent the forces of nature or the original inhabitants of a land before the coming of the current gods or people. They are the old gods, the earth powers, the defeated peoples whose memory lingers as monstrous figures in the lore of their conquerors. The story, then, is not just a metaphor for colonialism. It could be a literal, fragmented memory of a real Bronze Age conflict, a clash between a smaller, more technologically agile people, Jack, and a larger, more established tribe, the giant, passed down orally for 200 generations until it lost all historical context and became a fairy tale. We are listening to an echo from the dawn of our civilization, a chilling testament to the fact that the fundamental stories of theft and conquest have not changed in 5 millennia. When a story is this old, it ceases to be just a story. It becomes a piece of our collective mythological DNA. This age, this 5,000-year-old root, allows us to broaden our scope beyond history and view the tale as a universal pattern, an archetype that resonates across countless cultures. The beanstalk itself is the most powerful clue. It is a classic example of an axis mundi, the world tree, the cosmic pillar that connects the earthly realm with the heavens and the underworld. It is a symbol found at the very core of human spirituality. In Norse myth, we have Yggdrasil, the great ash tree whose roots and branches hold the 9 worlds together. Odin hung himself from this tree for 9 days and nights to gain knowledge of the runes. In Hindu cosmology, we see Mount Meru, the sacred 5-peaked mountain that is the center of all physical and spiritual universes. In the book of Genesis, Jacob dreams of a ladder reaching from earth to heaven, with angels ascending and descending upon it. Jack's beanstalk is England's humble folkloric version of this profound universal concept. Jack, then, is not just a boy. He is an archetypal hero, a human who dares to traverse the cosmic map. He is a culture hero, the figure who journeys to the realm of the gods to steal their power for the benefit of mankind. He is Prometheus, who climbed Mount Olympus to steal fire from the gods, giving humanity the power of civilization and being punished for it eternally. He is Heracles, undertaking his 12 labors, often involving the theft of a magical item from a monstrous guardian, like the golden apples from the Garden of the Hesperides, which was guarded by a dragon. In this reading, the giant is no longer a human chieftain or a simple monster. He is a god, a sky god, a thunder god, a guardian of a higher, more powerful realm. He is a jealous deity, like the Abrahamic god of the Tower of Babel story, who strikes down humanity for daring to build a tower to the heavens. Jack's actions are an act of profound hubris and rebellion against the divine order. He doesn't just rob a house, he loots heaven. The bag of gold is divine power. The hen that lays golden eggs is the secret of eternal divine creation. The talking, self-playing harp is a direct theft of the divine voice, the music of the spheres, the creative word itself. Jack's story is a mythic rebellion, a testament to the human drive to not just worship our gods, but to usurp them, to steal their power and make it our own. It is the most audacious story imaginable, disguised as a children's tale. We have peeled back the layers of the lie, the history, the science, and the myth. But there is one final layer to explore. It is the deepest, the most speculative, and the most unsettling. It reframes the entire story not as a memory of a historical event or a universal myth, but as a coded instruction manual for a forgotten spiritual practice. It asks a radical question. What if the beanstalk doesn't grow in the garden? What if it grows in the mind? Let's re-examine the story as a description of a shamanic rite, an initiation ritual into the deepest mysteries of consciousness. The initial conditions are key. Jack and his mother are starving. Fasting has been a core component of spiritual practice across the globe for millennia, used to induce altered states of consciousness and prepare the seeker for a vision quest. The mysterious man who appears is the guide, the teacher, the one who provides the means for the journey. And the beans? They are not mere legumes. In this esoteric interpretation, they are a sacred plant, a psychotropic catalyst. Think of the peyote cactus in Native American ritual, the ayahuasca vine in the Amazon, the soma of Vedic scripture. The beans are the key that unlocks the doors of perception. Jack's mother, representing the mundane world and conventional wisdom, rejects them. "You fool!" She throws them on the ground. But the seeker, Jack, has accepted the forbidden fruit. The journey can now begin. The overnight growth of the beanstalk is the rapid, explosive onset of the trance state. The climb is the shamanic journey itself, the perilous ascent of the soul through the different planes of existence. The world in the clouds is the spirit world, the other world, a realm of immense power and danger populated by non-human entities. The giant is the ultimate test, the great guardian of the threshold, the lord of the spirit world that the shaman must confront and overcome. And the theft? It's not theft at all. It is the acquisition of spiritual power or medicine. The gold is raw power, spiritual energy. The hen laying golden eggs is the ability to manifest that power to bring back a continuous source of spiritual wealth for the community. And the harp that plays itself? This is the ultimate boon. It is shamanic knowledge, divine inspiration, the ability to hear the voice of the cosmos, to bring back the songs and stories of the spirit world. In many shamanic traditions, the initiate must metaphorically die and be reborn. Jack's frantic descent and the felling of the beanstalk is this final, terrifying stage. He must cut the connection to the spirit world before its overwhelming power destroys him. He kills the giant. He integrates the power. He masters the vision instead of being consumed by it. He returns to the ordinary world, but he is transformed, bringing back gifts that will sustain his people. The story isn't about getting rich. It's a detailed map for a terrifying journey into the soul, a memory of a time when we knew how to cultivate a relationship with the forbidden realms. So where does this leave us? We are left with a story that is not one thing, but a shimmering, complex tapestry woven from all these threads. It is a story so ancient that its origins are confirmed by statistical biology, a 5,000-year-old echo from our Bronze Age ancestors. It is a brutal socio-political allegory, a blueprint for conquest and colonization, a dark mirror held up to the ambitions of civilizations. It is a profound myth, a repetition of the universal human urge to challenge the gods, to steal fire from heaven and claim divinity for ourselves, with the beanstalk as our own humble Yggdrasil. And at its deepest, most forbidden core, it is a fossilized ritual, a set of coded instructions for a shamanic journey, a map of inner space where the beans are a key, the climb is a trance, and the giant is a spiritual guardian to be overcome. The true genius of Jack and the Beanstalk is that it is all of these things at once. It has survived for 5 millennia precisely because it is not simple. It's a message in a bottle, a narrative vessel so perfectly constructed that it could carry these multiple layers of meaning across the ocean of time, shedding and acquiring interpretations like barnacles, but keeping its core structure intact. The sanitized tale we tell our children is just the glittering surface of a very deep and very dark body of water. We have forgotten that the story is not an invitation to dream, but a memory of a time when climbing to another world to kill its guardian and steal its power was not a fantasy. It was a terrifying and necessary spiritual technology, a haunting reminder of a world where the veil between our reality and the realm of the gods was terrifyingly thin. But if you thought a child's story hiding a 5,000-year-old ritual of cosmic theft was unsettling, wait until you hear the true blood-soaked history of Little Red Riding Hood, which began not with a wolf, but with a cannibalistic feast where the unwitting heroine is tricked into consuming her own grandmother. The original tale is a macabre rite of passage that was censored for centuries. To unearth that forbidden story, click the video